It was a gun.
I'm not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Can't be like a horse with blinkers on.
Honestly say, I was about to have
Corrupt
sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
My name is Tembela Dick, but I like to be called Tara. I'm a filmmaker, but I always pick up the researching part because I feel like it's more important being a researcher than everything else.
My name is Zakile Rikoto, or Zeg for short. Most people call me that. I'm 20 years of age, I guess. I'm studying at the University of Limpopo. I'm currently doing my second level or second year in law. I'm from Guyana. It's not a small, I can't say it's a small community. It's a huge place here in Limpopo. I don't know. I'm also part of a non-profit organization called Keys to Varsity. We assist learners with varsity applications, tutoring, mentoring, and all that stuff. And I'm the director general of that organization. So yeah, that's basically me.
Hi, I'm Luyanda Ncube. I'm doing my second year in law too, the same as Zach, and I go to UWC.
Hi guys, my name is Kifilo Prince. You can call me Kifilo Prince, whichever is easier for you. I'm a final year student at the University of Johannesburg. I'm studying food and beverage operations. I have a podcast. I blog occasionally. Yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Hi everyone, my name is Happy, but most people call me Andy. I'm doing my last year in operations management at UJ. I'm also working at AVZ Holdings as a junior project leader.
Hi everyone, my name is Madika. I'm doing my final year at UCT. I do a Bachelor of Social Sciences. And I also am into film and television, so I do that as well on the side.
How difficult was it for you guys this year?
For me, what was hard was that we didn't really have contact or face-to-face contact with our lecturers. So they would just sort of upload work and we'd have to work through it by the time they had uploaded the next amount of work. There wasn't that communication where you could be like, you can see the class is struggling with this chapter. It would just sort of like have it done by the time I upload next. And if it's not, you're going to fall behind by yourself sort of thing. So that was hard, not having contact or face-to-face contact with your lecturers or the people you're working with.
It was difficult because it put everyone in a state where you didn't know what was going to happen to you. You didn't know how your academics was going to go, how was everything. It's not a matter of you could have planned for this. There was no contingency plan on, there's a pandemic. When there's a pandemic, you do this with your studies, you do this, you do that. No. Everyone was just hit by a wave where we had to follow what we were told by the government and just take it from there because no one knew anything about anything. Cases were rising. Everything was just, in a nutshell, just a mess.
For me personally, I think like when the lockdown was initiated, I think it was back in March 26, right? For me, like the first thing I thought was like, oh, okay, I was supposed to write a test on that same day. Like, okay, what happens next? So for me, like our school personally, or university rather, it's very very silent. It's very bad with communication. So for the next like 4 months, they said literally nothing to us. So for me, at that time, I was like, should I study? Should I not study? Should I just like rest and chill or what? I didn't even know what to do. It was more of a psychological mind game for me because I'm not the guy who can like you won't find me like actively studying every day. And unless I know that we are writing a test, I'm also writing a test right now as we speak because I post that one to engage with you guys here. So for me, the uncertainty is still like, okay, we're supposed to write this test. When will we write this test? The lecturers are saying nothing. The university itself is saying nothing. And it's not like we can strike or anything like we usually do when we don't get the things we want. So for me, like it's always the uncertainty because we don't even know when we're going to write exams for example, right now. So I'm just like, I'm writing a test, but when will I write the exam? Will I write it on Christmas or New Year's? Like, it's a mental thing for me. It's very, 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 very strange for me. It's been a very, very strange time.
I think I would say for me, the biggest challenge has been the amount of work. You just have so much work to do at a very short period of time. So you're constantly working. You're constantly trying to reach deadlines, and there's just no stopping to it. And everyone is just under the assumption that students are copying, and it's really not like that, you know. It's hard. It's really hard.
I think for me, the biggest thing was definitely having to adjust to learning and living at home in the same space and oscillating within the same space for everything and still being able to focus on academics. One of the biggest things was that, you know, we have routines that help us that are aimed at, you know, creating like, I don't know, intrusive settings for like learning. So we exercise, you know, we go out and we are social, and those things help us in terms of health, makes academics easier. So when all of that was taken away and it was just, we were limited to just doing academics within the confines of our homes, the same living spaces, like all of the vices we depended on to kind of mitigate things like anxiety and stress, like went out the window. So it became even more difficult to mitigate those kinds of problems. Had to find new ways of trying to deal, new coping mechanisms, and so on and so forth.
Also access to facilities that you might have on campus, because I know a lot of students were sent home. So now you don't have the library that you can maybe work in and be quiet by yourself. You don't have access to the books in the library or the textbooks that maybe you don't have, because I know at UWC, if you don't have a textbook, you can take it out at the library for maybe 2 hours, do what you need to do, and hand it back in. But now you don't have access to the libraries, you don't have access to the computers or to printing or to just having your own space to study. And I think for people who don't have those facilities at home, that may have just gotten in the way of their studies.
Before this pandemic, I stayed off campus, and with the whole off campus accommodation, when the lockdown was initiated, I got the chance to stay here. I didn't go home, which was a bit okay, it's a bittersweet moment that I can't go visit my family every other weekend. But at the same time, I'm blessed because here there's Wi-Fi, you know, I have a laptop, I can kind of push through, I can do my work during the pandemic where other kids who are kicked out of race can't use the Wi-Fi race, because most students literally depend on the Wi-Fi on campus, and the libraries, like Leander said, and books, you know, facilities, because at school is probably like, it's like an entire environment where of resources and facilities you use. So when that whole pandemic got initiated, I just got lucky and stayed here. But at the same time, it was a bittersweet moment where I couldn't visit, I couldn't go back to campus. I couldn't use the facilities on campus, like printing, so that I studied, because I study better with paper. So it was that type of atmosphere.
I had too much on my mind. I was too stressed. You know, one moment you think you're going to die, next moment you actually have to, like, you know, study for testing in 2 days. So for me, I think it's been very, very, very taxing on me mentally and psychologically. Other than that, I'm still trying to adjust to it.
Well, for me, just before the beginning of lockdown, it was study break. So I had gone home. I had taken some of my stuff, like my reading material and my laptop, and I had told myself I would study throughout the 21 days because they had said it was 21 days. So I found myself in a situation where I was actually stuck at home and I couldn't come back to Joburg. And my sister had just given birth, you know, so it was quite chaotic. It's hard to study at home because there's chores. You can't just watch people doing everything and you just say, I have to study. No, it doesn't work like that, unfortunately. So it was a bit hard. And immediately when we were given a go-ahead to travel, I used the opportunity. I came back. And since I came back to Joburg, everything has been pretty much simple. I've always tried to see the positive in everything that has been happening, even though everything was hard. But in my mind, I was just like, I'm going to get this qualification. And I'm actually doing well. My marks have improved. So honestly, I wouldn't complain that much. It was problematic earlier when I was still at home, but now I've actually just eased into the whole thing. I've sort of adapted, if I can put it that way.
I think I can say, to expand on someone who went previously before Andy's point, in terms of like the mental health aspect, that is something that I can say was a challenge that I faced in the period being at home, particularly because, like he said, we are dependent on the resources that the university gives us in terms of access to mental health care. We are dependent on those resources. So as soon as they say like we must go home, we are back home, but at home we don't have the resources. Because at the least, at tertiary, those resources are funded. At home, seeking out psychological care, healthcare is about 1,500 Rand a session. Yeah. So we immediately don't have access to the resources we need to facilitate, having better mental health, which translates into it being already difficult for us to kind of tackle academics, because now we're tackling ill mental health, deteriorating mental health, and academics. And now if you're talking about being within the home space, nabazali, they also, what I've noticed is that because the pandemic had an intergenerational effect on everyone, they were also stressed about their own things. So in general, there was just more tension within the household, which creates more friction and makes it more difficult to it makes that kind of an environment would make it more difficult to like study in, because there's a lack of personal space. Everyone is tense and no one has the vices that they usually have to alleviate their stress, so everything is automatically more intense. So for me, mental health stood out as one of the most outstanding challenges I had to tackle this year, and access to resources to mitigate deteriorating mental health.
My dream is to be a human rights lawyer and use the skills that I'm gaining right now to help others, and also to just help myself and the future and all of that.
My dream is to contribute towards bettering queer representation in South Africa.
My dream is to become a private chef, LGBTI activist, podcaster. It's a lot. It's generally a lot. Blogger. Yeah.
My dream is to change things, I guess. That's why I started practicing in the first place. Because I just feel like most of the things in our society, or in South Africa specifically, they are one-sided, or they support this side more than the other side. So for me, my dream is to balance the scale and improve the community and by extension. So yeah, that's it for me.
My dream is to be an operations director at a very large firm. I'm not sure which one yet. And to also own a property group. Yeah, that's my dream.
My dream is to, if I can, to bring back Ubuntu. I think that's where things were broken. If we can love one another as South Africans and stop discriminating each other, whether by race, by sex, by everything. My dream is to make peace, with everything.
Yazi, you should ever sit and talk with people, or else take a walk and create a straight talk. Talk what is nice, it will make you feel stronger. Listen what is right and say what is wrong. You should ever sit and talk with people, or else take a walk and create a straight talk. Talk what is nice, it will make you feel stronger. Listen what is right and say what is wrong.